Welcome to Walking by Faith, a podcast from Torch Trust where we talk to blind and partially sighted people about how their lived experience of being visually impaired has impacted their faith and spiritual lives. I'm your host, Lynn Davis.
My name is Victoria Oruwari. I'm a soprano, freelance opera singer, and I'm also a psychotherapist.
When and how did you lose your sight?
I lost my sight at the age of probably 6.5, where I was experiencing some difficulty seeing the board in the classroom when I was in school because I was partially sighted, and some operations that were done to rectify the situation that were supposed to be routine operations didn't go according to plan. And several operations later, I was totally blind. From a 6.5-year-old's point of view, I don't think maybe if there were emotions, I wasn't able to process them. So for me, it was like there was a world that had changed, and the world that was once bright and colorful didn't have many colors. So I had to create the colors because I felt like maybe if I created the colors, then I'd be able to kind of see them. And in my mind's eye as a child, I thought I saw them. And it's little things like bumping into tables or chairs that told me that I actually wasn't seeing things in reality. And I came to realize that, okay, I think my eyes don't work like other people's. But I think it took a very long time for me to be able to say to people, okay, I'm blind. I just used to say, oh, I have this condition, but I'll be better soon. And emotionally, I think if there's a word to use, what was my real experience, it would have been frustration and confusion because I was little and too young to kind of process what was going on for me.
When and how did you become a Christian?
I can't actually remember not being a Christian. I was born into the church, my family are Christian. I was christened when I was a baby, and I always know Sundays as the day I went to church. So I've always been a Christian, and even as I got older, I may say that what's probably changed is that I'm probably a lot more spiritual in my approach to Christianity than I was before. Maybe before it was more of a ritual, like a religion thing, something I did. And more and more, it's become something, uh, it's become a bit more about my relationship with God and what I believe, rather than what I was told to do: go to church, say your prayers, read your Bible. Now I just feel like it's a constant conversation that I have with myself and with God.
How has your faith impacted your unique lived experience of being blind?
That's a really good question because as a blind person, I feel like if there is no faith in me, I probably wouldn't achieve half the things that I have achieved in my life because everything requires just that little bit more courage, that little bit more trust, and that little bit more hope that, you know, things will work out. You get up and you leave your house and you don't know what's outside. And if you experience any form of anxiety, the words from the Bible come to me, and they say things like, "You're not alone. God is with you. Jesus is with you." And this is what I mean by the more I experience life on my own, moving around and doing things independently, I find myself having constant conversations with Jesus, like to ask to keep me safe, to ask if he's pointing me in the right direction and things like that. Obviously, I use my white cane and all these other things that are there to aid my journey and my progress in life with technology and everything. But on the underlying driving force for me is my faith. An example I would think of would be there was this time I was going somewhere for a rehearsal, and I was going by bus because for some reason the trains were not working. And this was ages ago when the buses didn't have announcements and you had to just ask the driver and make sure that he told you that you were at your stop. But then the driver stopped the bus suddenly and said, "We're terminating the bus here. No one's going anywhere further because they've asked him to stop the bus because there's a problem with, I don't know, some sort of system." And I panicked. I was like, what am I going to do? So everybody got off the bus. I didn't even hear people leave. So I came off the bus and I was like, gosh, what am I going to do now? I don't even know this area that I've been dropped in. And I was walking around, I was like, oh God, please, you got to send someone to help me now because I actually don't know where I'm going. I could keep walking straight and ensure that I don't fall down, but with no compass, then we didn't even have iPhones, so you couldn't even check where you were. So someone came and approached me and said, do you need any help? And I said, yes. But what was so strange about that person, I didn't hear a footstep. And people always have footsteps, no matter how quiet, you will hear a footstep. And this person guided me to the station and handed me over to staff. And I turned around to kind of say thank you, and the person had disappeared. Again, no footsteps. And I know, like, people may say, okay, you're kind of making this up, but in my opinion, in my view, in that situation, I feel like God did send an angel to guide me. I don't know who it was, where it was, but in situations where I find myself in a dire situation where I feel like there's no help that will come my way. Some help always comes my way.
How has being blind impacted your experience of church?
Church can be a bit of a minefield if you're blind. I think the church I belong to is actually quite a good one. They are very embracing, and I go in and they got me my hymn book in Braille so I could worship and sing with everyone, which is a really huge blessing. And I mean, it shouldn't be like a privilege, but it felt like because it's not something that other churches have available. Sometimes church can be different because people can sort of talk to you differently because they feel like you're less fortunate and might need them to be a certain way with you. Like they probably want to just engage with you with the aim of just praying for you to get better as opposed to just communing with you and relating with you as a person. And I feel like, it could be better in some other churches I've been to where people can just sit down and have a cup of tea with you and have a relationship that is very, warm and friendly.
Who has supported you through your faith journey?
Very interestingly, I grew up in Nigeria and I've been receiving books from Torch Trust since I was a child. I think I remember the first hymn book I received was My Favorite Hymns, and it had all those beautiful songs. And I used to remember singing and writing to say thank you to Torch when I was like 8 years old. So that was a big part of my life when I was back in Nigeria. But with regards to support, I think Christian friendships I've made, they provide a sort of safe space to kind of talk about trials and tribulations and how faith can be helpful in such situations.
How has your unique lived experience impacted how you see God and God's love?
I feel God's love immensely on a daily basis. I feel God's love even when things are very, very difficult. I don't know if it's to do with my unique well, I suppose it could be do with my unique lived experience as a blind person, but I do feel that God sees me and God protects me and God is with me all the time. It's a sense of being. I think it's because I appear calm on the outside, even when things are really, really tough. And I feel like the reason I can be calm is because there's some extra something that God has given me to kind of be able to keep going on, even when things are tough. And probably because I don't know what it's like to live without that sort of love, I can't put my finger on it. But even when things are really bad, there's that sense that that I know that it's going to be okay in the end.
What does walking by faith mean to you?
Walking by faith is trusting even when the facts are telling you that you can't trust. And I think that's the way I define faith is when you hold on to something you believe in, even though the facts before you are telling you that you may never get it, you may never see it, it may never come true, but you hold on and you believe and you trust in the goodness that God is going to show upon you. I feel like walking by faith is a personal journey for each and every one. And I think everyone's relationship with God is very unique and very different because he's the only one who sees our hearts and what's in it and what we desire the most. And it's really important that we stay true to who we are as people and follow our hopes and our dreams, because the journey is tough. It's tough because we're blind, but it's also tough because we're living in a world where there's so many different forces around that we're having to navigate. So it's just good to kind of stay close to who we truly are and who we want to be, and live in hope that one day the things we hope for will happen.
Do you have any wellness tip for our listeners? So this could be anything that's helped you through your faith journey or help you keep your faith up. Something that may be able to help somebody who might be going through any struggles or any trials and tribulations of any kind.
I would say music. Music has always been my lifeline. If things are tough and I put on some praise and worship music, put my headphones in, sit down, give myself that half hour of listening to a playlist of songs that really speak to me, they can be a good way of restoring your hope and restoring your faith when things are really, really bad. I also love to sing, and a song that makes me feel very connected to God is a hymn titled My Song is Love Unknown. My song is love unknown, my Savior's love for me, love to the loveless shown that they might lovely be. Oh, who am I that for my sake my Lord should take frail flesh and die? Here might I stay and sing no story so divine, never was love, dear King, never was grief like thine. This is my friend, in whose sweet praise I all my days could gladly spend.
We hope you've enjoyed this edition of Walking by Faith. If you'd like to get in touch about anything you've heard on the podcast, or if you'd like to leave any comments or feedback, you may do so by phoning 01858 438 260 or by emailing info@torchtrust.org. We'll be back soon, but until then, from me, Lynn Davis, goodbye for now, and thanks for listening.